Hey everybody, it's another episode of Big Talk about
small business. Sorry, I was a little late on the punch there.
That's all right, man. You can be late if you want.
Thanks, Mark.
The party doesn't start till you get here.
Hell yeah.
Ever.
I love that, man.
Because you're the life of the party, Eric.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate
It's
that.
the truth.
Thanks, buddy.
It's good to be here with you.
Yeah. We were just sitting here chatting. I wanted to say this for the show, but I mean, like, this is my favorite hour of the week, man. It really is. I actually look forward to this.
I know. That's funny you say that. No, because we have so many things to do.
Yeah.
Like this morning I got up and I thought, damn, I got to do the show with Eric. But then I thought, you know what? It's always fun. Yeah. We always have, and I come out of this with a million ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I come out of this, I'm firing texts and emails off the people.
That's beautiful, man.
Okay? Because it really does get me thinking about things.
Well, I think that's,
like
hopefully our listeners feel the same way, right? I mean, because we need, what I think it is? I need companionship. I need to actually not feel as much normal, but just feel that there's somebody else that shares the same kind of problems and the crap that I have to go through on a daily in this specific role as entrepreneur, right? Because it's like never ending chaos.
You're right. And nobody wants to be alone in that.
No, that's a bad island, bro.
It's like, I don't know if my first wife was an alcoholic and drug addict. I'm also a licensed psychologist, by the way. Okay.
No, disclaimer, you're really not.
Heal thyself, I think, was her quest. But
she was.
She was.
Okay, I thought you just claimed that you are.
Oh, no, she does.
Okay.
She was, really, yeah, she was. 3 degrees. Well, she's a very intelligent woman, but she had some problems. But anyway, during the time I was trying to get her straightened out, I took my kids to the Al-Anon family group meetings. And the best part about that, it's the families of the people that have the problems.
True.
And just getting to find out they're not alone. It's the same thing here. It's like, okay, I'm not a freak. I'm not the only person dealing with this stuff.
Yeah, because you can feel honestly, like a lot of times I've felt that because of all these chaos, this problems and stuff, I'm like, what's wrong with my organization skills?
Yeah.
What's wrong with my ability to manage? What's wrong with me? Because it looks like Mark Zweig's got his shit all kinds of together.
Yes, I know that feeling extremely well.
Yeah, but
I thought that about you.
That's good. No, we just broke through some massive, independent, alone psychological shit just right there.
You're so right, and that's a perfect setup for some of the things that we need to talk about.
Okay,
one of them is the fact that because shit is going wrong all the time,
right,
and opportunities are hitting us that need to be acted on. Okay, now, not later.
Right now?
Later is the enemy.
Yes.
You don't have time now. What makes you think you're going to have it later?
You're not.
You'll never have the time.
You won't.
Okay?
And you certainly don't want to have the time to sit there and think and dwell.
No.
That's bad.
It is bad. And usually your decision-making doesn't improve over time. It's my experience. It probably gets worse. But no, I was just thinking about some of the bad advice I see on LinkedIn.
Okay.
From these, quote, solopreneurs, which I don't like the title.
Right.
Because I think it's a bullshit title.
Right.
Because entrepreneurs build value in their business. That's what makes them different from small business owners. And what kind of value are you going to build in a one-person business? None. But anyway, because the value's all with you and what you do. You can have a nice business.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
You can make a good living. But anyway, I don't want to get sidetracked.
But to that point, though, I mean, the reason why, I think that's good because people, if they're thinking that way about that advice, or, anybody that's wanting to get into entrepreneurship is nervous. And if they're not in it, it's because there's something that's blocking them.
Yeah.
Right? They don't want to take the risk, or they don't want to lose their job. They're worried about their income, all these reasons, a lot of years.
Yeah.
And then they get advice about, hey, you can be a solopreneur of where you're just alone. And you don't have to worry about all these other big pain points that a company will bring. And that would make me feel, if I was in that role, fearful about all the other things that come with business. I'll be like, well, that sounds like a nice thing to do.
Yeah.
And then you get into it and you start doing it. And then 5 years later, you're this solo entrepreneur that has no value to sell anybody.
And as soon as you don't work your tail off, the whole thing dies. There's no income at all. Boom. Okay.
That's right.
That's the other problem with it.
That's
okay.
right.
It doesn't build up any inertia,
No, and just like our point in the beginning, I would not want to be alone as an entrepreneur.
I swear, it's one of the reasons I grew my company in the first place. I can remember back in 1988, sitting in my one-room office above Russ's Lunches.
Were you smoking cigarettes? Were you smoking?
Yeah, I was, actually.
Hell yeah.
And I had a native cab company down below, and we'd throw the butts out the window. And they'd yell, "That's why knock that shit off,"
And you like
Bostonians. But no, seriously, it's lonely though.
Yeah.
I was in a multi-tenant building and there were like 6 or 7 other businesses up there on the second floor, and we used to all talk. I even started to write a TV show script about that, but I didn't get it anywhere. Yeah. It was like all in a day's work. It was like the one.
You're all by yourself.
All the crazy characters, that were in that building.
But when you hire people and they come up like that community,
yeah,
you're building a culture. Humankind is not meant to be isolated alone. That's what's been a problem with COVID, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
It's been terrible,
really screwed
people, right?
Yes.
And then they don't come back to work. They stay home and work at home.
Yeah.
And you're all by yourself. And yes, it's convenient. Who the hell doesn't want to walk?
Stay in your gym.
Yeah, spend 5 minutes, make myself my coffee, sit down, do my thing, and then it's 10 a.m. and I've been alone. There's some peace to that, but it makes you lethargic and worthless and hurt because you're not communing with other people, which is a really important fact of life. It's a human condition. It's a universal law and that you can't break.
It is. You're right. It's a need. And the other thing is, though, you're not as good because nobody's holding you accountable. You know what I mean? And nobody's giving you new ideas.
Well, the thing, coming to the office, it's an accountability thing.
Yeah.
And you need to be held accountable. Just like you said, like if I have to go to the office, I at least have to shower.
Yeah.
And then I have to brush my teeth.
Yes.
Right. And then
if you're there, you have to do something worthwhile.
Right. Yeah, because you're being watched.
Right.
And you need to be watched as a human being. There's nothing wrong with that. The problem,
and even though you're the boss, you're still being watched.
Oh, and we want to get watched more.
Okay.
In my experience.
Absolutely.
Like when people are like, it must be nice to be your own boss. I'm like, dude, I am the least of the boss around here because my clients are watching. My employees are watching. My team, my partners are definitely watching. The government is watching.
Yeah.
My vendors are watching. Everyone's watching.
It's so true.
And so you get held to this accountability level.
Right.
And that's what happens when some people that don't want to be held accountable, right? They get in these positions, they have a successful business, and they crash. Because all they have to do is mess up one time and your entire career's ruined. Like if you're doing nasty, bad things and you get popped by doing that.
Well, you only got one reputation.
Bro.
Yeah, you kill it. I always said you can recover from any amount of loss of money or people or customers or clients as long as your reputation's intact. Every time you'll recover. You can, at least.
It's so important.
But let me go back, though, to my point about the solopreneurs and advice on LinkedIn. They're telling people it's okay to check out for the weekend. Don't check your email. Go on vacation. Don't check your email.
Yeah. Disengage.
Look at your email once a day. I'm like, who can run their business? Could you imagine looking at your email one time a day? What job allows you to do that? You've got customers, you got clients, you got employees, you got suppliers, you got problems. They need to be dealt with.
That's right. And you don't have time.
Yeah.
If you check out, right?
Yes.
And you don't do those things, then you're getting further behind. It's just the reality of it.
It is. I mean, I wish I could say, look, I don't blame anybody who wants to check out. Life was friggin'... truthfully, life was better before we had these damn things.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
The quality of life was better. I just
Before we had a phone.
Yeah. Business travel, you'd leave, you could read books, you'd call home one time a day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe you said hi to your kids or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. But the rest of the time you're working.
And then you were off. Okay. Yeah. Then you were doing your thing.
Yeah.
And it just it was nice. You could focus. You could do, but you could go home on the weekend and then, concentrate on stuff.
So let me ask you this, Mark. You've been an entrepreneur for a long time.
Yes, I have.
A long, long time. Right? Like 30 years long. 50 plus years long you've been an entrepreneur. That's a long time. So are things less chaotic or are there less problems since you've been doing that? I mean, can you disengage?
No, I can never. Truthfully, I've said I wanted to at times, but you can't.
Right.
Because if you want to stay up, you want to stay relevant, you want to be known for exceptional service.
Yeah.
You want to be able to deal with things in a timely manner so they don't go out of control. You've got to be hooked up.
There's one thing I can say is that I know that if I text you or I call you, I will get through to you. Like I've always known that about you.
Well, I try to be that. To me, it just shows respect.
Yeah, it does.
It says that somebody's important enough to.
And I don't feel like I'm going to bother you.
No, you're not bothering me. I tell my students, they're like, "Oh, I was going to text you, but it was late." I'm like, "Dude, text me anytime you want. It doesn't matter."
They don't know that you're a freaking animal, dude. They don't realize that you're a freaking animal.
Night before last, Grant Longenbaugh and I from Janus were going back and forth between 3 and 4 a.m. And it wasn't even like, "Hey, you're right." It was just completely normal. I'm serious. It was between 3 and 4 a.m.
I love it.
I was in New York. I can't sleep when I'm out of town.
Yeah.
And so I just work.
So how do you deal with not getting enough sleep? How do you power through?
Just power on through, baby. What? I looked at my Oura Ring report. I got 5 hours and 1 minute last night. I've got a 61 out of 100. Okay. But damn it, boom, at 6 a.m., I bounced out of bed and started working.
But okay, so some folks would be like, "That's not good for you. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't work so hard. Blah, blah, blah." I call bullcrap on that.
Yeah, are they happier?
No.
That's the thing.
They're not happier. They're more useful.
Yeah.
There is something to be said. Like, I can look back and say, and I do quite a bit of reflection, right? Especially in my old age, right?
You're an introspective guy.
I am. Yeah. I look at the deeper things in life,
Yes,
right?
I do, yeah.
But I look back and I'm just yesterday, I was taking some time and I was just reflecting. It just happens.
Yeah.
There's times where you just start doing
Good to do.
Yeah. And then you stay in that space for a little bit. But I was thinking about like the amount of things that I have done, not saying accomplished, but the amount of things that I have done. And I just started looking back, 10 years like, dude, I worked my freaking butt off and I worked my butt off then. I've never not worked my freaking butt off.
Right. And you're doing it right now. And you jump back in it. It's not necessarily a requirement. You know that.
No, but it's
natural.
The thing that comes from that is a sense of accomplishment, is honor.
It's the only
purpose.
You're right. And those are the only things that make people actually feel good.
Yes.
Buying stuff, going on fancy vacations, just eating out at the fanciest restaurant or whatever. It's not that gratifying.
No.
No. It's just not.
No.
It's the accomplishment.
Which goes back to your solopreneur thing. Here's what I would say about that. The big warning sign, because when I do look back, what makes me feel even better about what I've done in my life is thinking about those people that I have worked with.
And help too. You've built up a lot of people.
Help grow with. I've seen these people that are doing much better now. There are people that were making minimal salary wages when we started working together that are now making 4 to 5x.
I love
that. They would never have ever been able to do
Exactly.
without us working together and on something bigger, which a solopreneur will never do for anyone else. And they won't be able to look back on that and see and be part of that community that did that.
And miss one of the most gratifying aspects of business ownership in life that you can have.
Yeah.
I always tell my students, we always start out the semester with like, why do people want to be in business? And usually somebody to make a lot of money. If you look at the surveys, that's always way down on the list.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of other stuff. It's
Yeah.
like, well, I want to have control over my time. Yeah, but you work more than somebody who has a job. Okay,
That's true.
Okay, fine, but you've got some control over when you do whatever it is to do.
You have that freedom to choose whatever you want to activate into something.
Yeah, and then you do get to help other people and create good jobs for people, which help their families and witness their growth over time. Super rewarding.
It is. And I think the folks, like the thing about it is leadership, right? Which, I enjoy the conversations and the theories about it. Like it's always kind of cool to, again, introspect and you get into that, right? But there's also a raw animal way of leadership, of which I think an entrepreneur is the responsible one for, right?
Is it the silverback?
The silverback. Listen, such a good point. Everyone can relate to the silverback. The silverback don't give a shit, Mark. Okay, silverback is who the silverback is. He wakes up. He's ready to fight at any given moment notice. And he does his thing all day. And he is who he is. He's not thinking, should I be a silverback? He is just a silverback. It's life or death. It's constantly fighting. It's dealing with problems that come around the way. But when there's not problems, he's eating the leaf, bro.
He's capitalizing on opportunities.
He's doing what he needs to do. But he's not sitting there theorizing and any of that kind of stuff. But there's something about an entrepreneur as a leader to where you take action, you fight for the opportunity, for the purpose that you're driving for this goal that very few other people will do.
Yeah, they don't believe it's possible. They can't really visualize it. And we talk a lot about this, this whole idea of how do you turn on people to get them to see what the real possibility is. I think if you look at any real entrepreneur, that is something that they're always thinking about, for experimenting with.
I had a fellow entrepreneur in the community call me up for lunch and he's like, hey man, I want to get your thoughts on some stuff. And by the way, he tunes in and he loves our podcast.
Great.
Yeah.
I love him.
Yeah, we too love him. So I showed up, right? But he was just talking about that very thing. He's like, how were you able to, as me, to inspire and get other people? And I'm like, listen, he's like, I feel frustrated about this. I'm like, bro, listen, we are all, but I did hit, there was a period of where I did hear a quote that was really helpful for me. Is a few years ago. By the time you get done, by the time you are tired of saying something is the time other people are starting to listen. That's me relieve this frustration that I've had. Like, why won't people? I would get up and I would say something, cheerleading and freaking cast vision. Then I'd walk in it. And every time people are looking at me like I'm crazy.
Yeah, and then there's little reaction.
No, zero reaction.
I think they have the meeting after the meeting they're talking about it. Not with you and not any public reaction.
Well, I would even
frustrated.
I'd even get to the point I'd be looking at the group, the team going, are y'all not listening to anything I'm saying? And I'll just live. Right. The problem, though, is this bubble of frustration that you have as an entrepreneur where you don't believe that people are taking in what you're saying. But when I heard that message, it made sense to me because I think it's to your point, it's how do you get people to corral around a vision? I think it's frequency, consistency of just constantly, pushing that on. If people start to
small victories,
yes.
Promote those, in the context of the greater vision.
That's it.
Yeah, absolutely essential.
And it's not always that Braveheart speech, right? Whenever he talks about bolts of lightning coming from his ass and all that kind of stuff, right? That was a great speech. But there are times that might happen, but it's very critical and it's a very urgent matter to rally people up. And it's not always a rally. Right. But you as the entrepreneur hold this rally that you're just constantly driving on. and to be able to speak that out. And he asked then, he's like, well, when do you do that? And I'm like, man, I actually look back, and every single meeting that I'm in, even today,
You're doing it.
I'm doing it.
Sure.
Not because I'm going, there is a need for me to cast vision, and every meeting, I didn't.
Right. I understand that. That's when it takes on the bullshit.
That's right.
Aura. It starts smelling bad.
Yeah. You go,
You're sincere. You don't need to create. You need to use cliches.
Silverback doesn't calculate if he should stand up and puff his chest up if somebody's coming into the territory. He doesn't do that. He doesn't think about that. He's just a freaking animal, man.
It doesn't.
He just doesn't. And that's what we got to do. That's why I think that, but again, to your point, how can you be an animal entrepreneur and be genuine about this? Like, you see something so clearly as an entrepreneur, that, and it's driving you to fix whatever problem that is or fit that market need. That's when you know you're an entrepreneur, and you cannot then therefore get sucked into some sort of theoretical solopreneur game, because that's going to squash your spirit.
Of course it is.
And you're going to lose all the reward that you are feeling.
In a way, too, what you're saying makes a lot of sense. I never really thought about it this way, but if you think you always need more information, that then delays action. Okay? Yeah, hell yes, you always need more information, but that's not going to stop you from acting if you're an entrepreneur. And so that's the I think that's another, back to your silverback theory. Okay? Because a lot of people, they're afraid to make a decision. They don't have enough information. And so they're afraid to make a decision. I think as a leader, though, of an entrepreneurial organization, you need to set the example, of course. That's the most important thing. You need to get these small victories and show people, hey, you're right. Okay? And you need to have some big victories. So they're like, hey, you know what? Maybe we ought to listen. Okay? This guy's, your gals, knows something. Yep. They're bringing some victories. And I think you've got to make examples out of people who really go for it. And
true.
You can't let your current salary structure and bureaucratic HR-related stuff stand in the way of really rewarding somebody quickly who's buying into the program, doing what they need to do, and being an example for everybody else.
It's funny you say that, because literally just last week I rewarded an individual here with our company, just completely random. The thing was, is I thought of that guy, he needs to continue on doing what he's doing, because he doesn't even know it, but he's leading others.
Right.
Doesn't even know it. Right. And I could sit down and have these theoretical long-term leadership conversations and whatever. But you know what I did instead? I just made the call. I was like, I think this would be a good amount to throw over his way, or the fence. I think this might help him. I didn't start thinking about what
he's on the right track, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I was like, hey, 5-minute conversation. Hey, listen, I'm sending this to you. I want you, and I did tell him, I was like, I want you to know this is a reward for what you have done.
Right.
This isn't about what I need you to do. But you did this, and you did a great job, and I appreciate that. And I'm going to send this to you. The next payroll, you're going to get it. And he's like, thanks, man. I mean, this is going to really, I'm like, listen, man, I don't want to talk about this anymore. This doesn't need to go so deep. This is what you did. I want you to know, like, going forward, keep doing more, bro.
If you remember your psychology 101 classes that we all had in undergrad school.
Right.
Intermittent reinforcement, strongest kind. Like if I know like every time I pick up this can, I get paid $1, at some point I'm going to get bored picking up the can.
That's right.
But if like randomly, I could pick this can up and somebody could give me $1. I don't know when.
Yeah.
That's actually more of a reinforcement.
Who do you think started the processed bonus structures, right? I think if we really think about that for a minute, I bet that was an accountant's idea.
Yeah.
So that they can make it easier to do the entries.
Well,
and the HR teams. So are accountants and HR teams at big corporations entrepreneurs? Hell.
They stifle. Absolutely stifle the growth of the company.
And then they set rules and procedures into place so that when your organization gets bigger, you can't throw things over the fence.
Right.
Like
That exactly. My big thing is just like pay increases.
Yeah.
Once a year salary review with the really top performers get 6% and the mediocre ones get 3%. I'm like, what? Where is that? But once a year, I don't want to be married to a schedule. I want to, if somebody's doing it and they deserve a raise, I want to be able to give it to them. And I don't want to always be looking at, well, what if the other people they could do that? Well, this one's better. I mean, we're dealing with that right now with a guy. It's like we hired this guy in this one company I'm involved with. There's somebody else that was doing the same job. This guy is just a hell of a lot better. His quality, his output's much higher, and his quality of work is much higher, okay? The other guy, the existing one, found out what he's making, and now he's all pissed off, okay? But you know what? Nobody's really going to be honest with him.
Yeah.
And say, listen, Bob, the reason why you make less than this person is, A, your quality is not up to snuff. B, your output's not up to snuff. If your output and your quality's where his is, we'll be glad to pay you the same amount of money. That's one issue. Then the other issue is the fact that, the organization overall has got to be successful. Sometimes there's people, they do a good job. There's only so much we can pay them for that job because the organization needs to gel. It needs to make a profit. It's holding back everybody. At some point, I don't think it's bad to say that we're being held back right now by our performance as a company. So let's all figure out how the hell to fix our performance as a company, and we'll all be doing better. Okay?
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that either. But yeah, the structure of larger organizations stifles your ability to reward people sporadically when they deserve it. And it's a problem.
I've seen a lot of folks that have worked in the big corporations, right? And kudos to them. I couldn't do it. Like there's folks at the top in executive level roles, like this is nothing against what they do.
Oh, they've got to be good.
They've got to be freaking fantastic.
They are, yeah.
Like I look at some of these ladies and these guys, I'm like, man, they're perfect human beings. Like there's no way I could be that way.
You're not kidding. It is very competitive and they have to be extremely capable, smart, work hard.
Absolutely.
Receptive. I understand.
It's a whole different thing. But it's not an entrepreneur, right?
Right.
Because
it's a different game.
Because I've seen them come over and start a business. And everything's got a process and procedure and a format and a structure to it, and it stifles out the energy because when you plant something, like dude, you gotta sometimes you gotta hurry up and put something over top of that little plant or it's gonna get squashed by the rainstorm.
Yeah,
you gotta feed it right.
Gotta give it some Miracle Grow.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, move it over to the sun so often.
That's right.
Yeah,
and you can't sit there and have some sort of big process. You gotta dig it up, move it. It might kill it.
That's a whole subject. What you just brought up is moving from corporate America into entrepreneurship.
Yep.
Another big problem, and I'm sure you've witnessed this, is when you're an entrepreneur, you start out, you're doing every job yourself. You're not good at everything. You do it, right? There's nobody else.
That's to get done.
Yeah. And then, but in corporate America, they have so many different resources and people. They can't get down in the weeds enough to do all the tasks because there's nobody to say, hey, go do this, go do that, go do this, go do that. They don't have any of that.
Right.
It's just all on them suddenly, and they're not used to it.
No.
They're just not. They're used to a lot more resources.
They are. That's okay. That's another huge point I've seen. Like, and they don't. I've talked with someone because there's actually, it's funny. Like, I get asked to chat with some of these folks that are thinking about.
Oh yeah, I get the same thing.
Yeah,
they call me. It's like I'm thinking about starting to. Been 25 years, I'm retired, whatever. Yeah, get those calls all the time from people.
Yeah, and they're like, man, what's the biggest challenge? I'm like, listen, are you ready to bleed out in everything that you need to do? Are you afraid to scrub the toilet? dude, every time I go to the restroom in the business, I'm like, I'll look and see how clean it is. You know what I do? I clean it if it needs to be cleaned.
I get it,
Bro, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to do that.
I'm with you. I mean, we got cleaners at our house once a week, like you probably do too.
Well, I don't. That's rich of you, dude.
Oh, come on, man. I still clean the toilet, though. You know? I'm afraid of that.
I'm not afraid to get nasty, man.
Me neither.
You know what I'm saying? I actually, whenever I do that, I feel really good about myself.
Yeah, it's like, hey, I was the one who was willing to do that.
Like a goddamn silverback. You know what I'm saying? Just get a little dirty, get a little nasty. I like getting my hands dirty with stuff.
I like it because it sets the example for other people. It shows that you're not asking them to do things that you won't do yourself, which to me is a fundamental tenet of good leadership. Okay? How could you be the military officer? Charge, everybody. I'm going to stay back here where it's safe.
Okay, let's watch the show.
They're not going to like it.
No.
Okay? They're not going to like it. They're not going to do as good. Sometimes you got to get out there on the lead horse.
You do. You got to charge it, man.
You got to charge, man.
Another good thing about doing those things is that it puts, because as the company grows, as people are taking on responsibilities, they like to leverage that against you as if like they're so important to the organization that if they leave, everything falls apart.
Oh, man, I'm telling you, I know a lot of entrepreneurs who feel like that about people that work for them.
You can't feel that.
And that is not good. And they've got a dysfunctional employee, but I can't do their job if I deal with them. Meanwhile, that dysfunctional employee is polluting the minds of all these other people because I can't do their job. I don't have the time.
That's a dangerous zone.
Not acceptable.
It is not. I've learned some hard lessons on that.
You cannot do that.
I had, this conversation the other day. I have this guy too. He's like also asking about, letting snakes in the barn.
Yeah,
that is the snake in the barn.
Oh, it is.
That is the snake in the barn. When folks come in and you entrust too much and you let go too much as the entrepreneur, and you don't stay focused on it, and then you allow this leveraging to start happening. And I mean, man, I've had some really tough experiences with that.
Oh, I've had so many of those. I mean, you're just like making me. My mind is just coming back to a million situations like.
And then next thing you know, you turn around and then there's this click starting, and there's this doubt against you,
or things aren't getting done that need to get done, but because that person's responsible and they're not doing that one thing that you need them to do. Okay, it's a lot of stuff.
There's a lot of stuff. What I found was whenever I was talking about that, I really started doing some self-exploration, and I was like, you know what? That was all my fault.
Why do you allow yourself to get into that situation?
Yeah. I'm like, that was all my fault. Like, number one, I didn't let my business partner at the time be my business partner. I was advocating for some others because their role was seemingly, they were very important in my eyes at that time. And I didn't allow things to be decided upon real early when we had some flags.
Yep.
And I should have allowed my partner to do those things. And I own that, right?
Yes.
And then going forward, I'm like, but, it's like, how do you prevent that to happen? Well, you have to be willing. I think this is the point. At any given moment, to take care of business and let someone go and not be afraid of the consequences. Confront. And but if you start letting so many things go and you're like, man, I'm tired of dealing with that. I don't want to deal with that anymore. It's too big and bloated. I'm afraid to lose that person because I'm going to have all this work, and I'm going to have to get back involved in the books or whatever it might be. You have to always be ready as the silverback to freaking take the books, baby.
I know the books are a big one. Okay. That's a really big one. That was one I was thinking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's somebody who needs to hear this podcast right now that I work with. And I think it's beyond essential that action's taken and you move on. And it just is.
Well, the thing is too, if you start believing that, these other folks are so like, it's not necessarily that you can't believe that other people have the competency and the ability, and can do things better than you can. Like, not at all.
Sure.
It's the fear. It's the It's the self-doubt or the self-resistance as the entrepreneur to not be willing to jump back in the dirt and clean the toilet. If the person's cleaning the toilet and that's their job, but you don't want to clean the toilet anymore. And so therefore, I'm not going to get rid of that person because I don't want, as the entrepreneur, to clean the toilet anymore. You can't ever get that proud, bro.
No,
You cannot get that proud.
you can't. And well, the other thing is just the time.
Yeah.
You just think I'm so busy that I can't do another job. But the odds are, if it's not being done right and well, they're doing more damage than they are contributing to the situation. Okay? So you got to free yourself up to fix the problem
I think that's
by clearing that person out of the way.
I think that if you don't behave like that, which I think that you do, right? I think that's a big part of the conversation. I've watched you and you do that. And it's a natural thing, but like if you don't, you can be a prisoner of your own business.
Oh my
That's
God.
where you become a prisoner.
I've felt it before.
Yeah, man.
Believe me. I've felt it and I can't stand it.
No, it's not a good place to be.
Now, thank God today with things like QuickBooks, it's not that hard to figure it out. Get in there, okay? You could.
I witnessed you just getting nasty with some stuff like that, man.
You've got to. You just absolutely. As soon as you take your eye off the money, that's such a big one that you can get too successful. You know, it's just like I was reading about this electric bike company that just like burned through $70 million worth of capital.
Oh,
It's okay. And they're bankrupt now. You know, it's like, how in the world could they do that? I mean, like, how asleep at the wheel were they to be able to do that? But they had so much money that they could afford to make so many bad decisions and not deal with things and let things go. It's not a blessing. It's a curse, I swear.
Yep.
The lack of funds makes you confront these things much faster and make better systems, not necessarily bureaucratic ones, but better systems to provide the information you need to run the business than you would have if you had too much money.
yep.
It's a curse more than it's a blessing.
So true. Now, I think that, you know, what that allows you to do is like you actually start feeling the stress from something not going right, someone not doing things right. And so you get involved in it and you got to figure out what the hell's going on. What are you doing, man?
It's like dramatic. It's like I'm suffering from PTSD.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, see, those were painful lessons, right?
They are. Those are the things that really keep you awake at night.
Like when you don't have enough grasp on what the hell is actually happening, and then you have a tendency to become passive about it.
Yeah.
Passivity is what kills you, man.
It's a lot of people feel that way about their IT efforts too.
Oh yeah.
Okay, like development of IT solutions, where they become a black hole and you keep throwing money at it. And management's like, I don't really understand this stuff. I don't trust these people. And they're just like, give me 300,000 more in another 3 months. And it just keeps going and going and going and going. It becomes very, very frustrating because they don't know enough about it.
Yep.
They don't want to really get into it to figure out what the hell is really going on. I've been in that situation before.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people who are at high levels in companies that are frustrated about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, so let's go back though to this whole idea of management.
Do we have enough time? We do. We got about 20 more minutes.
Oh, good. So everybody wants to talk leadership and management. I need leaders and I need managers. I don't draw the line that clearly. I'm sorry. The last thing I want is a manager who's not a freaking leader. That's bullshit. Isn't it, though? I mean, think about it.
It's true.
Well, I'm just a good manager, but I'm not a leader at all. What? How the heck are you going to really manage people then?
And on the flip-flop, is there really even a position on the planet Earth where you're a leader and not a manager?
I don't think so.
I mean, unless you're on
another good point.
Unless you're retired.
Yeah.
You can do that then.
Maybe you could just inspire people with your writing and speaking.
That's called an author, right?
But this whole, Matt Lewis, I've quoted before on here. I says, don't forget, he tells his managers, the word manage is inside manager. It means you got to do it. Okay.
Yeah.
You're there to support the people who are making things happen.
Yeah.
And that's either building something or selling something. All the rest of it's just support. Okay. Those are the two things that matter.
It's good.
And he goes, you got to be helping those people and you got to manage them. They need somebody to hold their feet to the fire. They need somebody to remind them that there's certain things they need to do that are going to tend to make them more successful.
Sure.
Okay. Sure. They need somebody to inspire them. They need somebody to paint the picture which is a leadership aspect, to inspire these people and give them a sense of possibility that if they can do certain things and accomplish certain goals of the good, that's all the job of the manager.
Yeah.
And the managers have to do it. They're not just there to fill a seat and not do anything. And it's either up to you to do it all as the entrepreneur or up to the individual. Then it's like, why do I need the manager?
Right.
Okay.
And so with all your years, again, as an entrepreneur, like, have you let management go? Are you outside of management?
No, never entirely at all. I've always had people that report to me.
Yeah.
So of course I'm still a manager. I may be managing managers.
Yeah.
But I got to.
Do you have to manage managers?
Yeah, they need management just like everybody else. Everybody needs management. It's a discipline.
Yeah.
It's a discipline, okay?
To you see it as a discipline.
I totally see it as a discipline. There's certain things I'm going to do a certain way on a certain schedule that'll always get done.
So can you give us some insight into that? Like, what are some of the tactics that you do?
Well, the tactics, I mean, we talked last week about do lists.
Yeah.
But just about like relentless scheduling, scheduling of everything. It's got to be I mean, you've got to set a schedule. You've got to set quality standards. You've got to point out where the quality is failing. You've got to get people to deal with customer or client complaints. I mean, those are all things. And you've got managers in charge of areas that impact those things. So, of course, you need to be watching what's going on and you need to be letting them know this is unacceptable.
So how often do you watch?
I was just doing that today.
How often do you watch and how often do you talk to people? Constantly.
Constant. I don't necessarily want to have a schedule for that, but I'm going to just do it continuously.
Yeah. So what are tell us about some of the other little tips and tricks like you do? Like, so, okay, you get philosophically and universally that you are always a manager. You always will be a manager as an entrepreneur in business.
Right. Okay.
But then let's say you're managing a group of folks, like, are you setting a schedule of when you have one-on-ones with them and when you're talking about certain things? Like, do you have?
I'll set a schedule if it doesn't happen naturally.
Okay.
If it happens naturally, I won't set a schedule. Does that make sense? In other words, like some people you have a relationship with where you're continuously communicating.
Okay.
I don't need to have a schedule to talk to that person about these things.
Got you.
But if it's somebody who I don't have as much interaction with, but yet I'm still responsible for, and we all have those. Yeah. By the way, we can't put everybody in the same box or have the same relationship with everybody who works for us. Mm-hmm. Those people I will schedule a regular talk.
Got you. That you're just not interacting with on a regular. Like a good person would be an IT person, head of IT.
Right.
Like you don't need to talk to them every day, all day.
Right. Exactly.
But your operations person, you probably do.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the role and the individual might dictate that.
So whenever you manage, like, and again, is it kind of like, let's say that something's not going right? Or you get a sense about something. So first of all, do a lot of things come up to be a sense to you? Like something's not clicking or before it becomes a problem? Or are you always looking to manage something and improve it before?
Of course, but I can't say I always succeed at that. But I will always have the gauges on the machine that tells me how the machine's performing. Okay. And if I can have ones that give me predictive metrics, that's even better yet. Okay, so I am going to have gauges that tell me. So I could say this is not going right, and the manager go, "Oh no, it's going great." I'm like, "No, it's not." here's the information that shows it's not.
Yeah.
Where's saying,
What are the gauges that let you know how the machine's going?
oh, every business is different. There's always different gauges. I mean, I could talk about a manufacturing company, one that we're both involved with to a certain extent. If you're not tracking things like the amount of warranty work, how are you going to be able to talk specifically about quality issues?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You could say to somebody, look, our quality, in this area is not up to par. They could say, no, our quality's great. But if you'd like, okay, we're spending $5,000 a month fixing this problem over and over and over again, it's not great. Okay. I mean, that's just one example.
So that's kind of an example of a predictive.
Oh, that's not necessarily predictive. Oh, it is. Yeah, because eventually you're going to be suffering your reputation.
You're looking, what you're doing. So in your brain, like when because, okay, I think this is important because as an entrepreneur, you have all these things going on and you're living this animal life and you're ultimately responsible for stuff and you're just down in the weeds, cleaning toilets, doing whatever it takes, right? To make this happen. And then you got people around you that you have brought on to help take care of specific tasks because you can't do it all yourself.
Right.
Because you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to grow something.
Right.
That's not a solopreneur life.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to build something that has value, right? Et cetera.
So that means overextending yourself.
Yes.
Okay. It's just what it means. So don't unhook constantly, people. Go on.
Right. You can't take off on
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Right.
So, but you're constantly watching these gauges and then like, and so you're not really, there's not like a set type of data points that you're looking for, but are you just always kind of just digging? You're just digging here, and then you fix that, and then you run over here and dig there.
There are some that are set, of course. I mean, you can look at like incoming leads. You can look at, web hits and how long people spend. I mean, you know this better than I do.
Yeah.
That's, some of those things are predictive in nature. You have to admit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you notice, web traffic's declining, sales are probably going to decline at some point.
Right.
I mean, it's just inevitable. But there are other things, yes, that you are sporadically looking at or responding to. But again, to me, it's like, that's why I've got to be hooked up to social media because I see what people are saying about the products and services and businesses I'm associated with.
Right.
I hate social media, really. And most of the time I get on there, it just pisses me off to see how stupid people are.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't believe you're that ignorant. But, but nevertheless, you've got to be tuned in to all the places that this information's getting from.
So Mark,
to know what's going on.
it sounds like to me that you use a ping pong method.
Okay.
Like you don't have on Mondays at 8:30 a.m. you spend an hour and a half with social media for the week.
No, I do not do that.
And you don't go, hey, at this I'm going to look at financials, or at this I'm going to be looking at web leads. You're not organizing your calendar like that.
Not like that.
You are just on a daily basis digging.
Yep.
And staying tuned up. Like you jump on social media when you got 10 minutes between this and that.
Because I care. I want to know what the hell's going on.
Right.
I care. It's important. I'm thinking about it.
But I'm just trying to articulate
that's right.
Now you are able, as Mark's wife, to get as much done as you can in a day.
Yeah.
It's because you're living in the business. You're working in the business.
Right.
You're working at the business at the same time and on the business, right?
And I got my do list that I'm working on, so I know what I got to get done. Okay. I'm constantly on my do list.
And that's on your phone.
It's on my phone and it's updated, and I'm going to update it instantly too. I'm not going to wait till the end of the day. Like, okay, now what did I get done on my do list? Yada, yada, yada. So it's done. It's off. Bang. 15 seconds.
What do you use on your phone as your app or whatever to like write down your to-do list?
I use my calendar to schedule, and I use notes for my do list. And I share notes too. I use a lot of shared notes.
With your team?
Yes.
And what program is that? Is that like just the Apple Notes?
It's just right there, Apple Notes. You ever do shared notes? Do you do that?
Not with Apple Notes, no.
Yeah. I guess it's Apple Notes.
You don't even know.
It's right here. It's on my computer. Okay. It's on my phone. So you can take a look like that list right there.
Yeah.
That is a shared list.
And how do you share with folks? In text, email?
No, you hit the send, and then it says collaborate, and you name the person there. Then every time you change the list or they change the list, it updates it in the same place. Did you not know you could do that?
That was not with that program. Well, I mean, I use Google. I use the Google Suite to kind of do the same thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's because I think if folks are like me, right? There's this problem of there's all these softwares and things that
it gets overwhelming.
It's really overwhelming.
It does to me.
And you're always then, it kind of goes back to our earlier conversation where I feel like I'm not keeping up and doing a good job of organization. That's why everything's going like crazy, but it's not the case. It's like you have a system and you're not also scheduling time to check emails. You're not scheduling time to review what you did this day.
Yeah.
It is just a constant.
It's a natural thing. When you're driving, do you every 15 seconds look over at your right-hand mirror?
Thank you.
Okay? You're driving.
Thank you. That's where I'm trying to get to, right? Because I think it's important for people to understand because they're being bombarded with systematized rules of engagement, proper way to balance life. It goes back to your balance versus integration. There's all this pressure in the solopreneur discussions that there's some right way to do everything and to have this cush life to where you have this perfect dream state of where you're really not working that hard, but you're making a shit ton of money because you read an article that New York Times did about freaking, Elon Musk or somebody else. And it appears to you that they're just living this super fantasy land and they're not.
Right.
If you really looked at any entrepreneur that is successful in doing it well, they are freaking animals.
Highly engaged, buddy. Highly engaged. Yeah, we're not even just a driver. We're a freaking race car driver. Okay, we're going 180 miles on this track an hour. All right, we don't have time to make mistakes. We don't have time to schedule. I'll think about putting my brakes on later. Okay.
I want to mention something I'm sorry, go ahead.
No.
There's something that just hit me that where a lot of this, as an entrepreneur, we live on this island. There's not many people like us, right? Because they don't see what we see, right? And then blah, blah, blah. But there's this pressure that's coming from everywhere else, whether you're reading a book, whether you're watching a TV show, whether you are looking on social media or reading whatever. But then there's a big pressure that comes that I just kind of realized that I'm going to call bullshit on.
Okay.
It's pressure from the people within the organization. They might be coming from a job with a big corporation where it's really organized and all this.
Yeah.
Or they might have read about that job, or their parents told them about a job.
Yeah, and their parents never were entrepreneurs.
No, they worked at the USPS for right. You lock the door at 4:59.
Yeah.
59.
Don't make it sit as ever. They don't even do that. It's like, yeah. No, I get it.
And so there's this pressure from your team that you feel as an entrepreneur.
You're not to make the
right. There's a better way to do it. There's a better software. There's a better process. There's better meetings. There's better. But the reality is that as an animal, you stay an animal. As a race car driver.
You're right. You're absolutely right. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've said, we all need Slack or whatever.
Oh, dude.
I do not want to use Slack. I don't want another channel to check. It's unnecessary.
Thank you.
Okay?
Dude.
We have email. We can text each other. We can have group text. We can have shared notes. We can collaborate on Google Docs. No. I'm not going to learn it. I don't want to install it.
You are hitting the biggest pressure point.
Okay? That's a perfect example. And then,
please, yes, Slack. I hate Slack. I have a reputation back at the Flywheel area of where Eric doesn't check Slack. They even created a Slack channel where they talked about me on jokes and communicated with me, but they knew I never checked it.
That's hysterical.
And then they send me an email. Hey, have you I'm like, and I'll ask them hey, where's this at? I asked for this to get done.
I told you on Slack.
Yes. And I'm like, I don't freaking check Slack.
Right. Don't force me onto that platform.
Exactly.
I don't want it.
And then And if I go talk to any employee, and I'm like, they will admit when they get down to it that they hate Slack too.
Yeah.
Because it's like, they're like, I hate Slack. It's just constant. It's just one more freaking.
Yeah, and then I get it set up so it emails me that somebody said something on Slack.
So
that even makes it worse.
It's the worst program ever. Like, we should change our podcast name to wehateslack.com. Like, it's so bad. It's like, you already have text messages. You already have phone calls. Like, call me too. Call me. If you don't text me, don't email me, just call me.
I've said that so many times to people. Well, young people don't want to pick up the phone. They will keep texting people. I'm like, this problem could be solved in 2 minutes if you just dial. Don't forget, this is a phone too. You can talk on it and listen. It's like big con. Listen.
Okay, so let's break this out. Like, the reason why you don't want to call is because you don't want to get into a conversation. You just want to have a to-do list and get your to-do list done.
That's one reason, yeah. I think the other reason is maybe they fear that they're going to hear something negative, or they won't be able to deal with a question or whatever.
Or they might get another task that they need to do.
Yeah, any of those are possible.
Self-protection is what's killing everything, man. But, the good news is, out of all this, thinking as an entrepreneur, I kind of like it in a way because it gives me all these opportunities.
Exactly, because these other people aren't doing it. Okay? That's what's so great about business and entrepreneurship, right there.
Yeah.
You just said it. It's not that hard to improve on what anybody else is doing. It's really not. That's why and I know you've invented something new, and you did very well doing that, okay? But my prejudice has always been, I'm not going to invent anything new. I'm just going to do a better job. It's a lower risk. Now, yeah, you can hit the pros as a football player and it pays off big.
Yeah.
All right? I'll just be the accountant or whatever who gets his degree.
Yeah.
But, it's a lot lower risk out there because there's all these businesses, like you say, that are run by people that just don't care enough.
And I don't know about you, man. Everywhere I go and everything that I do and every business I go in, and this is not a calculated thing, but I'm always like, that could be better. That could be
My
better.
ex-wife had
that could be better. And I'm like, new business idea. New idea. There's so much shit to say. I do it everywhere I go.
I do it too. It drove my last spouse crazy.
There's a huge business opportunity out there right now for somebody to provide technological advancement in the construction industry using GPS, and you can come in as a tech person and solve it for the small business guy. Like, there's a $1 million, $20 million idea right there that you could go out and say, okay, you're young, you know how to use technology. A lot of the folks don't. But go out there and provide a service with a product-based business and build a team to where you can go to all these subs contractors and go and help them, and they pay you a fee to go in and just put in the GPS coordinates and all the plans and give them back the plan. And you can make them successful along with making yourself successful.
There's a lot of technology out there in construction that doesn't get used because new technology is risky to them. This is the way we've always done it. Well, you're doing it wrong, but I've been doing it for 30 years like that. That's the problem. They're so risk averse. Anything new is very risky to them, and they resist it. But yeah, there's huge opportunity.
But, I guess a thing on that idea, but if you are, the smaller construction folks need somebody to help them because the big ones have the tech.
Sure.
They're going to keep gobbling up business because the companies have tech and they're going to be able to communicate via tech.
Right.
But if somebody doesn't help the small ones and they're resistant to change, and then part of their resistance to change is because this stuff is so foreign to them. Like, they can drive a freaking skid steer I was watching a dude on video yesterday driving a skid steer, doing wheelies, and was moving dirt like nobody. I was like, dude, that is freaking cool. That dude knows how to drive that gosh dang skid steer. I mean, he's a pro. But I can promise you, he doesn't know the new technology that's coming out with AI that's got GPS coordinates that can map up to the architectural plan and the civil plans and freaking hit the nail on the head. But it's so simple that there can be somebody that can do that. They do the intermediary between the plans and using the tech, and they give it to the guy with the skid steer that can drive it like a freaking pro. And that dude is now better than the big guys.
Well, we could save that for another day.
Sorry.
I mean,
I'm sorry I was wigged out.
it's just don't be sorry. I understand that excitement about finding problems that need to be solved. That's a big part of the entrepreneurship thing. You know that.
I know.
It's just, which ones do you want to work on?
You know what?
So many.
This is one of my favorite episodes because I'm leaving right now. We're leaving this episode, and I am proud to be an animal, and I can go be an animal. Well, that's what I need to be doing.
I noticed one of your corporate entities' names is New Man Ventures.
Yes.
So I take it that you're the new man behind New Man Ventures. Is that right?
Yeah.
All right. It's part of being your new man, baby. You know?
Living fresh, bro.
Yeah.
Do what you do. Just be who you are. See your vision and just work it.
Yeah.
Just like you said, don't structure everything. Don't plan everything. Take action.
Yes. Absolutely. Some things we structure and plan, and other things we don't at all.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And don't feel guilty about it. And if you hate Slack, it's not our team.
Boom. Baseline.com. Sign up today. We get one hell of a subscription.
We're out of time, buddy.
Okay.
So this has been another episode of Big Talk About Small Business. Tune in to www.bigtalkaboutsmallbusiness.com to see all of our episodes, which are on all major streaming platforms.
Stringing them, baby.
And again, if you like our content, please share it with your friends. And if you want to sponsor us, we'd love to have you. Sooner or later, we're going to have to figure out why we're doing this based on the money we make on it.
You know what? That's true. Well, okay, that's true, but we do it.
It is
we
a
love
lot.
it. And it's helping us.
We do it because
Let's just do it because of that.
we're going to keep doing it. But if you want to send some money our way and make sure other people see it,
Yeah.
and get your product or service out in front of other entrepreneurs and small business owners, we'd be glad to talk with you.
Hell, if you sponsored, maybe we might end up buying your product because you sponsored.
Maybe
It might help us with something.
That's right. So if you've got problems that are products that help us with our problems,
We might buy from you.
right? Unless you're Slack.
Don't,
No.
don't send us any sponsorship.
All right. Well, thanks everybody.
Well, actually, that might be a good way for Slack to convert us
Oh.
if they sponsored a show. Big Talk About Small Business sponsored by Slack.
Yeah.
That was an idea.
I don't like the name. It has a negative connotation with me. You're slacking off. Why would you name your business a productivity builder after something that has a negative connotation?
Call it Spring.
Yeah. I mean, that'd be better.
How about some
With this Spring. Yeah. Slack. I don't want my people slacking off. Okay.
Let them spring it off, though.
Yeah. Spring forward. Okay. We're done today. See you all later. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Big Talk About Small Business. If you have any questions or ideas for upcoming shows, be sure to head over to our website, www.bigtalkaboutsmallbusiness.com, and click on the Ask the Host button for the chance to have your questions answered on the show. Stay connected with us on LinkedIn at Big Talk About Small Business. And be sure to head over to our website to read articles, browse episodes, and ask questions about upcoming shows.